Hi, welcome back to EducateTube.com. My name is Sipsky, your host. Today I'll be talking about buying a good used laptops. Last couple of weeks I've been talking about different type of laptops, from casual users all the way to the high-end laptops. And the budget ranges from $100 all the way to $4,000. So that's a huge range, a spectrum, right? So if you were to purchase a laptop, a good one that you can use for school, for your work, what kind of pricing are you looking at? What kind of spec are you looking at? Well, this is the video for you. This is going to be talking about the laptops that is affordable and is used for editing video, 1080p. You're looking at doing Photoshop, or you're doing a productive application like Office, like word process, like Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and so on. Okay, a decent laptop that doesn't lag in any way. But you also have a limited budget. So let's look at the two categories or two group of laptops that I will be referring to. Okay, let's look at the first group. The first group is divided into basically in price, right? So you're looking at between 250 to 400 Canadian dollars. So if you have the budget, if your budget is set to 250 to 400 Canadian dollars, these are the laptops that I recommend to you. Okay. Now I'm just going to talk about Intel because I'm more familiar with Intel than AMD. Okay. If you want to buy AMD CPU, my recommendation is go for Ryzen 3 or Ryzen 5 if you can find it, because it's quite new now. But for now, I'm going to focus on Intel i5 and i7. Okay, so for $250 to $400 Canadian, you're gonna get, I would suspect, if you can get better, even better, is an i5, Intel i5, 3rd to 5th generation, or an i7 that is 2nd to 4th generation. Okay, if you can get it for under $400, that's great. Now, in terms of the RAM, you're looking at minimum 4 gig RAM, but I recommend you can get 8 gig RAM. That would be better. Okay, if you can find a laptop that's 8 gig RAM, yeah, go for it. In terms of the hard drive space, at least 250 gig hard drive space, but I would say 500 is what you want to aim for, 500 gig hard drive. And now, if I had a choice, I would actually get an SSD drive. So they gave you an option to get SSD drive, go for that. But usually the SSD drive would be lowered in terms of gig. So between 120 gig to 250 gig SSD drive. Okay, if you can get that, that's probably better than getting a 250 to 500 gig hard drive, standard hard drive. Okay, so go for the SSD because you'll find there's a big difference in terms of boot up time. Like for example, I had a laptop that has a standard drive, and it took almost a minute to boot up. Whereas if I have an SSD, it takes less than 30 seconds. So it's almost twice, in terms of speed wise. Some people report it as even 3 times. So it's very fast. Go for SSD if you can. If they have 250 gig SSD, go for it instead of the 500 gig standard drive. Now in terms of screen side, you're looking at between 12-inch to 15-inch LCD or LED screen. It would be a standard screen, standard HD screen. That, when I mean by standard HD, you're looking at the pixels dimension of 1366 by 768 pixels. That would be the standard screen for HD. If you're going for full HD, it's rarely you'll get a full HD screen for under $400. If you can get it, that'd be awesome. But there's another one in between. There's something that's like almost full HD. It's a 1600 by 900 pixels. That's actually a compromise between HD versus the full HD. If you can get that 1600 by 900 pixels screen, that'd be good too for the price that we were talking about, for less than $400 Canadian. Make sure that it has a HDMI port or display port built into the laptop, right? VGA port is not good enough. You need HDMI or display port. Now, display port, you can buy a special adapter for less than, I think, $15. You hook it up and it will convert from display port to HDMI signals. So just get that DisplayPort to HDMI connector and you'll be fine. It's going to cost you less than 15 bucks. Okay, just buy on eBay or Amazon, or look at Craigslist or Kijiji. I prefer having a CD drive on my laptops. I don't know, some of you may not. So the compromise is, of course, if you don't have a DVD or a CD drive, then you might be able to get a thinner laptop. Some people prefer that. They like a thin laptop, and then they'll buy the external DVD, CD drive connected to it, and it's fine. For me, I want everything in one package. That's why it's a laptop for me, right? You have a screen, you have, it's independent, don't have to plug it in for a couple hours, and then you have, you can watch a movie using a DVD drive. So, excellent. Now, in terms of build quality, what do you expect for less than $400? Well, make sure it's in good to excellent condition. What I mean by good and excellent condition, well, it's okay to have a little scratch on the the surface of the build, and maybe a little dent is okay. Scuff, little, maybe something that's wearing out, that's fine. But look out for any cracks, right? Cracks is not acceptable, and if there's a damage to the hinge, when you open it up, that's not acceptable either. If there is a crack on the screen, also not acceptable. If there's, a couple of dead pixels on the screen, I don't recommend it, right? For example, when you're doing video editing or especially photo editing, if there's a little dead pixel on the screen, especially under white contrast, it'll show up and it looks horrible. It looks like there's dust there and you can't get rid of it. So avoid that. So that's most important when you're looking for laptops. Look for a nice, excellent condition screen, and no dead pixels if possible. In terms of battery power, if it can, hold at least 90 minutes of power. Remember, this is an old laptop, right? Like several years old. If it can hold more than 90 minutes, that's awesome. Okay, 90 minutes at least be great. So this is category 1 or group 1, $250, $400 laptop. So that's pretty good spec. Okay, now if you're willing to pay a little bit more, maybe $400 to $600 more. I mean, not $400 to $600 Canadian dollars, not more. $150 more or $200 more, then okay. This would be the second category, category 2. So category 2 is laptop that costs between $400 to $600 Canadian dollars. This is a type of spec that you would expect to get. Okay, so i5, Intel i5, 6th to 7th generation, or i7, 4th to 6th generation. They're a couple of years old since today's 2019. It's about 2-3 years old. That's fine. If it's costing less than $600, that's not bad. And by the way, if you check CPUbench.net, if you compare, let's say, an i5 5th or 6th generation to an i5 8th, 9th generation, the difference in terms of its power is less than 20%. So there's not much a big difference between the two, and you're paying the premium for it, right? If you buy an i5 8th to 9th generation, you're paying at least $500 more, and the performance wise, it's not gonna make that much of a difference. 10, 15, 20% maximum. I think if you're a gamer, you probably want to focus on the GPU, right? Get the best graphic card on the laptop, then focus on whether it's a 5th or 8th generation i7 or i5. Okay. In terms of RAM, you want to get at least, now for you're paying about $400 to $600 Canadian dollars. You should get at least 8 gig RAM. 12 gig RAM would be where I would want for that price. 16 gig RAM would be a blessing, right? That would be awesome if you can get that. But 8 gig is the minimum. Okay. 12 gig is if you can get it, that's awesome. 16 gig, perfect. Hard drive space, 500 gig to 1 terabyte, right? So obviously you want to get 1 terabyte. I would probably trade that off for an SSD drive, 240 gig SSD drive to 500 SSD gig hard drive. So that would probably, I would want over 1 terabyte of hard drive space. Again, it depends on you. If you want a lot of space, don't mind the slowness of your laptop, then go for the bigger space, 1 terabyte. But for myself, I'd probably get 500 gig SSD drive and then external 2 terabyte hard drive. That's my take on it. Make sure it has HDMI or DisplayPort, okay? Because you want to be able to project it onto, you know, the screen, like a big screen, right? Or you want to hook up to your, you know, 4K TV, right? DVD, CD drive built in for me. I prefer having a DVD, CD drive built in. There are some rare laptop that may have Blu-ray drive, but I don't think you can pay less than $600. I think those laptops are a little bit more. Okay, I'm still looking for a laptop that has a Blu-ray drive and recording drive in a laptop for under $600. I haven't found one yet. So if it has a DVD, CD drive, that's perfect. Some of you may not want that, may want a thinner laptop, then that's fine too. Okay. Now in terms of build quality, again, make sure it doesn't have any cracks, right, on the whole body or in the screen. Make sure the hinge is not damaged so that, you know, it doesn't, when you open, close, the hinge is not like movable, right? So in other words, in the future, the screen is going to pop up on you. So as long, a small dent is okay, right? On the body, just a little dent. A little scratch outside the frame is okay. Scruff around, you know, little wearing out, normal wear and tear is fine. Just look out for the cracks and the hinge damage, right? If it's that, then forget it. And also dead pixel on the screen. Make sure, if you know, for me, I don't want any dead pixel on my screen. Even 1 or 2 for me, you know, when I'm doing Photoshop editing, that can be a problem, because then, you know, when you do editing, you don't know whether that's a dust or that's a dead pixel. So it's hard to, you know, clean up the photo if that dead pixel is always there. You got to move the picture around like that. Okay. Battery wise, look for a battery that's at least 90 minutes. Okay, so 90 minutes of life every time you charge in, and then you are able to run it for at least 90 minutes. That's pretty good for, you know, a laptop that's less than $600 and it has all the spec that I mentioned. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So you have these 2 laptops, you know, depending on your budget, $250 to $400 versus $400 to $600. These laptops that I just mentioned is more than adequate to do whatever you want. The exception is, like, if you decide to go for 4K video editing, then most likely, you know, you want to pay at least $1,000 now for those type of laptops. Or I would probably spend more money on getting a desktop and get a even higher spec for about $1,000. Okay, and you can do a decent 4K video editing on those platform. All right, so next week what I'm going to talk about is taking a you know, an i5 3rd generation laptop that has 4 gig RAM, and it has a standard hard drive, and modded, not modded, but upgraded. Okay, that's the word, upgraded, so that you get a better performance laptops. So no need to buy new laptops. So what you have to do is, so I'll talk about this next week. What you have to do is just change the RAM from 4 to 8 gig. So you're spending maybe between $30 to $50. You buy it on used to make sure it works, of course. On Kijiji or eBay, plug that. It's very easy. Just put it in, and then you get a pretty faster laptop. And then, of course, change the hard drive, which is a bit more difficult to change a hard drive from a standard hard drive to SSD. Okay, because you got to be worrying about, you know, if you have content in there, how do you, you know, transfer into the new laptop? That can be a problem. With the Windows 10, it's a bit easier, but for any earlier version of Windows, that can be a problem. I'll talk about that next week. You know, upgrading when you have, like, for example, now an SSD drive with the RAM, higher RAM from 4 to 8 gig, and SSD drive now, and then maybe change a little bit of the setting for Windows 10 or Windows 7 or Windows 8. Then you're going to have a better performance laptop. So you don't need to purchase a new laptop anytime soon. Okay, we'll talk about that next week. So thanks for watching EducateTube.com. Bye.